All right, and we're back. This is episode 59 of the Taproom podcast, and I am your host, Mike. Have a good one today. I had Ray Ricky Rivera on as a guest. He is the owner and founder of Norwalk Brewhouse. He does contract brewing through Eagle Rock and another brewery, but like I said, we get into that in the episode, so I don't want to give away too much. But yeah, honestly, a really nice guy, and we had a really good, fun conversation. Yeah, so stay tuned for the interview. Also, before we do get started, I do want to say thank you to Pocket Chug. They sent me, it's the most compact beer bong, so it comes in a little baggie, the tubes and everything like that. So I'm going to be making a video soon. It's been raining like crazy out here in Southern California, so I haven't had a chance to use it just yet, but I will probably be doing that today if it clears up. And we're making a little something for them. Also, make sure you guys go follow Geeks Who Drink. They hold trivia nights. So they do trivia nights all across the country. They have different, obviously people like, in different states where they host different events like that, or different trivia events at breweries. And they actually have one every week at Campsite Brewing over in Covina. So definitely give them a follow. We may have something coming up with them, so we'll see. All right. But yeah, so I do have a brewski here, a bitty blonde. This one is one of the ones that Ray Ricky Rivera does his contract brew with. So here we go. Let's crack her open, eh? All right. Sorry. Dog was getting a little antsy, so I had to, Oh yeah, gotta love that sound. Dun 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 dun. I don't know why I'm singing that song. All right. Cheers to you, Pat. I don't have a glass to pour this in right now. I'm actually in the garage recording this, but let's jump on in. Oh yeah, some good stuff. Yeah, you definitely like it. It's a really easy drinking, blonde ale, and I definitely would suggest it. It's got like the can. Actually, I want to talk. Well, I won't talk about the can artwork because the can artwork we actually talk about on the episode. So I'm just going to jump into some headlines. So this week there's some more Shohei stuff coming out. Not really sure. I mean, things are just getting kind of crazy. I feel like there's like multiple, obviously, stories going on. I feel like the story keeps changing, or had kept changing. So, I mean, we'll kind of see how it plays out, but I mean, things just don't really add up based on some of the stuff that's been said, or that was initially said, and what's being said now. So I don't know. We'll see. Also, baseball is back, baby. It's one of the best times of the year. It's also, we're leading into WrestleMania week. Can life get better? I submit that it cannot. It's good stuff. Good stuff. So I'm excited for baseball. My Bravos right now are 2-0. Obviously, Dodgers playing well. I'm going to do a full baseball preview and WrestleMania next week. That'll be on the outro. Don't want to take anything away from the Hamilton interview next week. Also, I went to go record at Frogtown yesterday with Jonathan and Josh. So the head brewer and the assistant brewer, really great guys. And, shout out to Art, LA Brew Life. He was there with us. But yeah, it was just an absolute blast. Really great beer. They're like a hop, a skip, and a jump away from Dodger Stadium. So if you're going to a game, definitely check them out before or after. They have really good stuff. And they always have food trucks and stuff like that there as well. All right. Also, did a little poll this week on Instagram. I should have had that pulled up already. But when am I ever prepared, right? All right. So I asked what people's favorite styles are of beer. So I had West Coast Pilsners, hazies, and stouts as the options. 33% of the vote, West Coast IPA. 26% of the vote, Pilsners and Lagers. 28% of the vote, hazies. And 13% of the vote was for stouts. So, I thought maybe hazies would be a little higher, but I mean, it wasn't that far off. It was only 5% difference. But thanks to everyone that votes, and answers questions and stuff like that. Abraham did ask me a question. I actually had quite a few, but I haven't had a chance to get through all of them. So I'm going to actually do that next week. But I will answer one question that Abraham from La Bodega asked. He said, how shitty were you at Slops Fest? And that was when I recorded with the boys from Tall Boy Sunday. I actually felt okay at the end of the night. But mid-show and a little after the show, I was like, after the tequila shots and all that stuff, I was like, oh, shit. Yeah, but I was feeling pretty good. Let's see, what else do I got? Oh, so I got to go see Nadav. Yes, I got to go see Nadav off yesterday. He's finally heading out to Israel. So I got to go hang out with him and have a few beers. Got to meet his wife. I got to meet Tony Baggs from There Doesn't Exist. And a few other people, stuff like that. And actually some of the people from Ambitious Ales, Syncopated. So it might be, it was a fun night to hang out in the Dav, but got to make some connections there as well. Also, at the end of the episode on the outro, I did get some people to say a few words to say goodbye to Nadav. So stay tuned for that. And Nadav, if you're listening, man, I'll save that. I'll save my part for the end. But all right, I hope you guys enjoy the interview and stay tuned for the outro. All right, guys, and we're back. I have a very special guest on today. I have Ray Rivera from founder of Norwalk Brewhouse. What's going on, brother?
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. Oh. Thanks for making the drive.
Oh, of course. Yeah, good thing. Not too far. So I don't know if it was easy for me, and I'm glad we finally got to do this. I remember I reached out to you. It was like, I don't know, it was like back in like September, October last year.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, but I know you were busy. I was busy, but I'm glad we finally got to get together.
Yeah, me too. Excited.
Yeah, just glad to have you on. So we have one of your beers here, one of your flagships, right? So we have Lamano as your flagship, and then the other one is Bitty Bitty Blonde Blonde, which is awesome.
Right. So Bitty Bitty Blonde Blonde is our flagship. It's the first beer we brought to market.
Okay.
It's a light blonde ale. It's single hopped with Mandarina Bavaria.
Okay.
5% ABV, so it's an easy drinking beer, nice and smooth.
Nice. Well, I'm gonna crack it open, but I definitely will. So we'll start off because I love one thing I would love to ask first is like your craft beer journey, man. Like, what was it like? Like how did you get started?
How did I get started in like the beer industry or just in craft beer in general?
The whole thing.
Well, I have this early memory. It didn't necessarily kick off my craft beer journey.
Okay.
But I was about 21. I got invited to a party. Can't remember who invited me, but I just remember being at this party. I didn't know anybody. And some guy was like, hey, you want a beer? There's some beer in that tub. He points to a tub. I walk over, I stick my hand in the tub, and I pull out Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. And I had never had Sierra Nevada Pale Ale before.
Yeah.
Crack it open. I take a swig and my face like melts. Like at that, I couldn't handle it. Like it was just too much for my palate.
Okay.
And I just remember thinking like, oh my God, this beer is horrible. Like, what is this? And that's like my earliest memory of craft beer.
Yeah.
A few years later, I started hanging out at a place called, I don't think it's there anymore, but it was called Wyland's Restaurant in downtown. That spot?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
They used to have a bunch of craft beer there, and they used to have, well, at the time they called it their house beer. And I didn't know any better, but I was drinking their beer. They had like a blonde, an amber, and it was delicious. I think maybe a lager. So I used to drink that beer. Later, I came to find out it was contract brewed. One of them was contract brewed by Firestone.
Oh, okay.
One by an Anaheim brewery called like Jayhawk or something. I don't think it's around anymore. But anyway, that beer at that place really kind of got me into craft beer and just thinking like, what else is out there,
Yeah.
And that spot was really cool. They had a pretty nice menu, Belgians and all kinds of stuff. And that's when I started to get a little bit more curious about like craft beer. And this is probably like early mid 2000s.
Okay.
And then fast forward 2014, I started homebrewing, got a 1 gallon homebrew kit, started brewing on the stovetop in my kitchen.
Okay.
And I just went down that whole rabbit hole of homebrewing and started brewing whatever I could.
Yeah.
And then the following year, I helped co-found the SoCal Cerveceros Homebrew Club.
Awesome.
And then once that happened, that's really where like my journey into the beer game starts. Because it's through the homebrew club is where I start to meet everybody I know now.
Yeah.
Whether it's like homebrewers or head brewers or brewery owners. And so I would say it really starts for me in 2015 when the SoCal Cerveceros starts.
Yeah. And could you tell us about for the listeners, like what the SoCal Cerveceros are and like what obviously what they do for the Hispanic community and stuff like that?
Yeah, for sure. So the way it started is, I'm homebrewing, but I don't know anybody. Literally one day I was like telling my wife, hey, I think I'm going to buy a homebrew kit. And she's like, a what?
Yeah.
And I was online and in that moment I was just like, I'm just going to order this homebrew kit right now. Cause if I don't do it now, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
And I did it. And that's pretty much how I started. Cause I was thinking about it for a while And I just finally pulled the trigger.
Okay.
Around that same time, I also read the book by Sam Calagione, Bring Up a Business, and basically chronicles the history and the story of Dogfish Head and how he started.
Yeah.
So it was like reading that book and simultaneously already thinking about the process of beer and how it's made. That led me to buying that homebrew kit.
Wow.
So I buy the kit, I go online, and for anybody listening who's a homebrewer who's done this, they know. You go online and you go into these forums, and it's just overwhelming, dude.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, you just you could ask the simplest question. You got 100 brewers giving you 100 answers.
Yeah.
And everybody's right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, man, I would really benefit from meeting somebody face to face, you know? So I went to Facebook. I was like, hey, anybody homebrew here? And one guy responded.
Okay.
And I didn't even know we were friends. Turns out he's part of a group called Brujeria, sorry.
Nice.
Maybe you can edit that out.
That's okay.
And we hook up, we start talking, and ultimately that leads to us deciding, hey, let's start this homebrew club. And we start meeting at their headquarters, which is a house in Hacienda Heights.
Okay.
And where they homebrew. And the guys from that group, like they had been homebrewing for like several years already, so they really knew their stuff.
Yeah.
So they started, I started learning from them basically and bouncing ideas and questions off of them. And we one day had a conversation like, hey, there's got to be other Latinos out there that are homebrewers as well.
Yeah.
And so we started to put the word out, and sure enough, there were. And we started as 7 people in a backyard.
Yeah.
Just sharing homebrew, sharing tips. And then that led to like over 200 people throughout the years.
Yeah.
So that's the SoCal Cerveceros in a nutshell.
Yeah.
But basically, SoCal Cerveceros went on to be the largest Latino-based homebrew club in the country. This is like around 2018.
Okay.
There was like no other club like it. Today, it's super diverse. It's not just Latinos. There's a mix of people.
Yeah. And
it's pretty much just open to anybody looking to become a better homebrewer, looking to learn about the hobby. And what SoCal Cerveceros also has become is sort of like a springboard. Many of us have gone from the club to commercial. So there's like almost probably 15 of us now from 2015 to now who have either opened up a brewery, started contract brewing, or whatever. We made the leap from hobby to pro.
Yeah.
So that's been really fun and great to see.
That's awesome. And was it Augie or Adrian that you?
Oh, so Augie.
Okay.
So Augie's the one that reached out to me. Sorry, I forgot.
That's okay.
So Augie reached out. So he and I have been tight since 2015. But it was Augie, his brother Adrian, their friend Adrian Gonzalez, who's still part of the brewery, and I believe it was a cousin of theirs. And they were like the group that was homebrewing at that time. And from day one, when I met them, they were like, we're going to open up a brewery one day. And that was always the plan. So for me, knowing them as homebrewers and watching them go through that process, it's been awesome to see. Because now, I don't know if you heard, but they're expanding to Chula Vista.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So now like they got the brewery open. They've been open for a few years and now they're expanding, and it's been amazing to see. So yeah, pretty proud of those guys.
Yeah. I mean, and how cool is that? I mean, you guys get to, have a group like that, or, you guys create a group like that to be able to, bounce off ideas off of each other. And, and because, it's like you were saying, sometimes you go into those forums, and I've heard this, I feel like that's like a tale as old as time, because like people would read, like go on all these different things. It was like obviously pre-YouTube, like before YouTube got real big, but I know now you can go on YouTube and find different things, but same thing on YouTube. You'll find different ways to do things, a different, they said there's 100 people saying it 100 different things. Yeah. But it's awesome that like, you guys got to start that. I mean, and it is so big now. I mean, and we have a mutual friend, Anthony Tapia from Amarok too, as well.
Yep. Shout out to Amarok. Anthony, what's up?
Yeah, man. And I just love like hearing that, like, cause I mean, sometimes, people are afraid to kind of take that risk or, to try to, jump into something like that. And when you have a good support system, like the Cerveceros, and now there's the Cerveceras and stuff like that too.
Like the probably the biggest hurdle is like the information, right?
Yeah.
And that's one thing that's really great about the beer industry is that there's a lot of people willing to share tips or, information like how to do things.
Yeah.
From in my experience, like I was sitting there one day like, oh yeah, I'm dreaming like everybody, every other home brewer. Like I want to open up a brewery.
Yeah.
But like, how do you do that? Like, how do you get financing to do that? What's the first step? Like, how do you go from I want to open up a brewery to opening up a brewery?
Exactly.
And so there's a lot of, you can go online and get information, but again, that's also overwhelming. It's so much more helpful to preferably see somebody in front of you do it step by step and then
100%.
relay that information to you. And now with the SoCal Cerveceros, there's several of us that have done that. So just earlier today, I had one of the members from SEC asking me about contract brewing.
Yeah.
Like, hey, how much does it cost to get your license, and what type of license do you have? And I was there texting them step by step. And that's something I find myself doing often. Like, people will DM me, people will email me. I was emailing somebody that I met online who's in Sacramento opening up a brewery. I was asking him questions like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And so that, that's a big part of this whole process is getting the information. And if you have the information, sharing the information. And that's one thing that I love about SoCal Cerveceros is that there's so many knowledgeable people. You can go to the homebrew club to get information on the commercial industry. How to work with a distributor, how to become a distributor, how to start a brewery, like where to start. Or you can go to the club and just learn how to brew better beer.
Yeah.
It just so happens that there was quite a few of us that wanted to go from homebrew to professional.
Yeah.
So now, so if you're out there listening and you have, the slightest interest, whether to be a home brewer or a commercial brewer or exist in that world, go to SoCal Cerveceros, hang out, and start talking to people.
That's awesome, man. And I love that. And, just trying your bitty bitty bum on light, refreshing fire, dude. That's really good.
I'm glad you like it. Yeah, straight ahead beer, nothing fancy. Just as for all the my cousins who I'm trying to get them away from those macros that they're hooked on.
Yeah,
try this.
Yeah, and it's always because I always kind of felt like too with like the Hispanic community. Like sometimes it is tough, like because I have uncles and I have family that are just like, oh no, I'm gonna drink my Modelo, or no, I'm gonna drink my Coors Light, and they get kind of stuck on that. But then sometimes they find something like this, or like La Mano or something like that, and they're like, what is this?
Right.
Yeah, where do I find this? And then they kind of they find we talked about earlier, they find their gateway into craft beer.
Look, there's I will not judge or knock anybody who loves a macro beer, whether it's Budweiser, Bud Light, Modelo, Corona, whatever, to each their own. It's more about like letting people know like there's other options out there.
Oh, for sure.
Because that's a big part of it, right? Like at least the people that I know who've been drinking Modelo for decades or Bud Light, whatever, it's because that's all they know. They were never turned on to any alternatives.
Of course.
And now beer is so expansive. There's so many options out there. It's like, right, you have fruited beers, you have Belgian beers, you have like high ABV beers, there's so many things to choose from. I think people would benefit from, trying different things.
Oh, definitely. And for you, because I know you mentioned contract brewing, because that is what you do. How did that all come about for you? Was it like, obviously talking to like Augie and all them, or how did it all come about? Really,
again, I had the dream opening up a establishment in Norwalk. Actually, where it really started was I wanted to open up a bar and grill with live music. And the idea that I had was this bar and grill was going to serve California craft beer only.
Okay.
And so I was like, well, if I'm serious about going into this kind of business, I should know all there is to know about craft beer.
Yeah.
And so that sparked, then that led to me picking up that book, Brewing Up a Business, buying the homebrew kit. So that's the full story there.
Okay.
So that was the initial idea.
Yeah.
And then as I go deeper down this rabbit hole of homebrewing with the SoCal Cerveceros, and I'm talking to Augie and Adrian and Brujeria about their dreams of opening up a brewery, my idea starts to morph a little bit. Like, oh, maybe I don't want to open up a bar and grill. Maybe I want to open up a brew pub.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, cool. Let's go. And then as I start to get more information, do more research, I quickly realize like, whoa, this takes a lot of money.
Yeah.
and I don't have a lot of money. I don't even have a little bit of money. You know what I mean? So I was like, wow, how am I going to do that?
Yeah.
So I just started trying to figure out ways to come to market. Like if my dream is to be in the beer industry, what are my options and what are some of the avenues I can take? Then I learned that, well, Boston Beer Company, right? Samuel Adams, the makers of Samuel Adams, they started in the 80s as a contract brewing company.
Oh, wow.
So they didn't even own a brewery for a really long time. I don't even think that to this day they own a brewery in Boston. I don't think there's a brewery that they own in Boston.
Yeah, I don't know.
And
That's
so
crazy.
so I also read that book. What is it?
Oh, Jim Cook's book?
Yeah, Jim Cook's book. I read that one later, but the point being is there was a template for this route. Like it exists. Like you don't have to own a brewery to have a brand and distribute.
Yeah.
And so I just started to do research and talk to some people, and I learned about contract brewing, and I learned that in order to be a contract brewer, so basically when you're you're technically not a contract brewer. The brewery that produces the product is the contract brewer.
Yeah.
So I have recipes. I go to an existing brewery. I say, hey, make my blonde. And here's the recipe. They brew it with their staff. They package it. I take the package, store it here in our warehouse, and then I sell and self-distribute.
Okay.
That's called contract brewing.
Yeah.
So I learned that in order to do contract brewing, you have to first become a beer wholesaler.
Okay.
Like, okay, well, how do I do that? You have to get a permit from the federal government, the TTB. Then you have to get a license from the state of California that allows you to distribute beer. As a beer wholesaler, you're allowed to not only distribute your own brand of beer, but you can distribute for any beer supplier. So I can work with, and we do sometimes work with other local breweries. So I'm technically a straight up beer wholesaler.
Okay.
It's just, I have my brand, and the way I get my brand to market, I contract brew.
Yeah.
So I'm basically buying what they call finished beer. So when I ask a brewery to brew my product, when they're brewing it, it's their beer technically, as the law states. It's their beer. It's my beer once I take it off of the premises.
Got it.
So that's how all that works. And I just, asked a lot of questions, talked to a lot of people, learned about contract brewing. And once I dug into it and figured out like it was a lot less expensive to get in that way.
Yeah.
I said, all right, let's go.
That's awesome.
So what I actually did was I partnered with another SoCal Cervecero member whose brand is Los Barbones.
Okay.
And so we went in as a partnership 50-50, and we created SCC Distribution Network.
Nice.
So SCC Distribution Network is the beer wholesaler or the distributor.
Okay.
And essentially what we do is we license our own brands to ourselves, so our distributor, so that we're allowed to distribute our own products.
That's awesome, man.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, that's cool though. I mean, you get, because I mean, like you said, you can still if you needed to do anything else, like you could do like just the wholesaling part, but obviously what you're making right now is killer. And I was just looking at the can artwork too. Obviously the Selena reference and all that stuff, but that's so good.
Yeah, I was really happy with the can art. So I found a graphic designer, Adriana.
So at little.drea?
Yeah, little.drea on Instagram. Adriana Mendoza is her name. And she was doing some label work for, I believe they are called Concrete Jungle up in the valley.
Oh, I've heard of them.
Yeah, I think, I want to say like the Oxnard area. She's from Oxnard.
Okay.
And anyway, I think I came across her artwork on Instagram, but I know one of the brewers from Concrete, and they're friends with her. Somehow we got connected that way. Like, yeah. And I saw her artwork and I thought she was great. So I reached out and said, hey, I have this idea, bringing this beer to market. You want to, design for it? And she did. And we went through a couple of rounds of designs. The first design she sent me there was a lot of pink and then there was a lot of purple.
Okay.
And so I was like, I love the idea of putting this woman on the can, and she's got tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, but I want a design that not only attracts women drinkers, but also men will be, attracted to it.
Yeah.
I felt like if it was all pink, I think it may turn off some male drinkers,
Mhm.
So I was like, let's try to get something in the middle that can appeal to both men and women.
Yeah.
And I think she killed it.
Oh yeah, no, it's awesome.
Yeah. And with our designers, so far we've only worked with women designers. The other design for La Mano
Yeah.
and our other releases have been done by Blanca Molina, who I met when we did a collaboration with Hen House.
Okay.
Blanca Molina's from, it's like Central California. I think it's not quite Northern California, but north of LA.
Yeah.
And she's amazing. She does great work. And part of the reason why I like working with women designers specifically is because we don't really see that too much in the industry.
Oh, definitely not. Yeah.
There's a lot of dudes out there, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you
There's a
know a
ton,
few, I
yeah.
know a few. Men are always reaching out. Hey, love your can design. If you ever need design, and I'm
Yeah.
always getting like DMs and emails, and that's cool. But I feel like this is our little part. This is us doing our little part to help the lack of diversity, if you will.
Oh, for sure.
At least in this part of the industry, right? Like we're trying to bring a little bit of diversity in all aspects of what we do.
Oh yeah, I mean, and that's awesome because even on the brewing side, I feel like females are underutilized. I mean, I feel like it's growing. Obviously, it's a lot bigger than than what it was. Obviously, I think Pink Boots kind of changed that a lot, which is obviously awesome. But yeah, for the can artwork too. I don't know any like real females that do can artwork for breweries and stuff like that. So I mean, I think that's pretty freaking cool that you did that.
Yeah, and it's something I hope that we can stick with. I mean, these two designers specifically, I'm a fan of.
Yeah,
I love their work. They do a lot of work, like not just with us, but with other things. Blanca specifically does a lot of can design.
Okay.
She's worked with like wine companies and various products.
Awesome.
So she's like a super pro. She knows. And that's the other thing with working with Blanca specifically is like going to her, I can say like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. And she can knock it out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And she understands like, okay, he has a product, it's going to go on shelves. So she goes in with that mindset. Like she knows that world. So it's been such a pleasure working with her. And yeah, the Beady Beady Blonde, that one will forever hold a special place in my heart just because it's the first one,
Yeah, of course.
And it's a crazy experience to like, so the beer started out as a homebrew recipe.
Yeah.
And so there was no real like can design. I was serving the beer from kegs at homebrew events with the homebrew club. And so there was never like a need to design a can or anything. So there was no artwork. It was just a name, Beady Beady Blonde, and a recipe. Sometimes I'd add strawberry or peaches or just be the straight up regular blonde, like non-fruited. But it never had art. Like it didn't have a feel or a look,
Yeah.
There was no image there.
Yeah.
So when she created this design, I was just like, my mind was blown. Like, wow, now the beer has like an image. It's a brand. And if you take a look at the artwork, and sorry listeners, you can't see this, but you're gonna have to go find the beer.
Yeah.
Or check us out on Instagram. There's a woman on the front of the label. She has big flowing golden locks of hair. She has these tattoos.
What does that say, 562?
So yeah, you'll see she's got a
awesome.
562 tattoo, which represents the area code that we're in here in Norwalk. It's also, what is it? A Long Beach and
Pico,
Cerritos.
Whittier, yeah.
There you go. So that has a lot of significance there. You'll also see there's an SCC tattoo.
Oh yeah,
And
there
so
it is. Yeah,
that was important for me.
that's awesome.
Just to
man.
rep the club and just to give a little nod, like these are the roots. We come from SoCal Cerveceros.
Yeah,
And then there's other
the
things.
hop right there.
There's the hop. So the 562 and the SCC tats, those were my idea. Like, I was like, we got to have those there.
Yeah.
But the rest were the designer's idea. So there's a hop cone there. I think there's like a cross, right?
Yep. There's a cross right there.
And then there's a rose on the other side. The first version of that design, there was a bunch of tattoos.
Yeah.
And it looked cool, but I was like, they got to mean something, you know.
Yeah.
Let's give them a little bit of significance.
Yeah.
And so that's how we end up with the 562 and the SCC.
Yeah. And how cool is that? Because, I mean, those tattoos mean so much to you, but to the average person, they might not know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's for you. And then they, but it may make people wonder, like, hey, what does this mean?
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's really cool. And one thing I do love is on the back where it says, make good beer, do good things.
Yeah. That's our brand motto. That's kind of what we live by. And it's just kind of my own philosophy. When I decided to make my move into the industry, I just thought to myself, like, the world doesn't need another beer company. Like, there's thousands of, great beer companies, great beer, great brands out there to choose from. So if I'm going to come to market, if I'm going to get in this space, like, what am I going to bring to the table? And I think this was influenced by some of my friends doing collaborations with breweries in support of nonprofits.
Yeah.
And so prior to launching Bitty Bitty Blonde Blonde, I had worked on 10 beer collaborations that supported local nonprofits.
Oh, nice.
And doing that work, I just realized, like, okay, this could be my lane. I could leverage this beer brand to give back to the community.
Yeah.
To try and do good, not just create a beer product for the sake of creating a beer product. Like, that's kind of boring as well. Like, another beer brand, okay. And the other side of that is, we touched a little bit on the lack of diversity, and this is nothing new, right? Like, we've been like in the industry have been talking about how beer lacks diversity and has been lacking diversity for decades. So that's also part of why I wanted to come to market with these particular can designs. Because if you look at them, I think it's pretty clear. You can tell, okay, this is a Latino brand, specifically Mexican American. Latinas are designing these cans. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's all important.
Oh, of course.
And so last year, getting back to the make good beer, do good thing model, last year we partnered with Brenda Villa, who is the most decorated athlete in the world for women's water polo.
That's awesome.
She's from Commerce. We created the Agua de Oro. We partnered with her and with some of the SoCal Cerveceras. Shout out to Tyler Sadler out there, who just won a brewing award for her beer over at Shadow.
Oh, it's just Shadow Grove?
Shadow Grove Brewery, yep. Up in the valley, right?
Yep.
They just won.
Yeah, through the Brewers Cup.
That's right. Yeah, I'm like, what's it called? Anyway, so shout out to Tyler. She worked on the collaboration with Brenda Villa, which we released last year. And we put out this beer. And Brenda Villa has a foundation that teaches kids water safety. Brenda Villa's thing is bringing water sports and education around water safety and water sports to kids and families in underserved communities.
Yeah.
So, I don't know where you grew up, but I grew up in the hood, and nobody in my hood played water polo. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely not.
Most people I know don't even know how to swim.
Yeah.
And so the Brenda Villa Foundation does work to help that cause. And so we put out this beer with the intention to support their efforts. And so long term, that beer, which is also a Mexican style lager, will be part of our core offering.
Okay.
And at, I guess, yearly, we'll donate proceeds from those beer sales.
That's awesome,
to help the foundation. So that's just, one of the ways we try to live our motto of make good beer, do good things. Yeah. Sorry, that was a long-winded.
No, man, not at all. I mean, I love hearing that because, I mean, it's real easy to be an asshole in this world nowadays. But when you could go out there and you could do good and you want to do good things, like, I mean, that's like, what's better than that?
I mean, look, the truth is that sounds great.
Yeah.
And to say, I could say that all day.
Yeah.
The hard part is really being about it, not just saying
through,
it, but following through and really doing the work that you claim to be doing or that you say you're going to do. And so I just try to live that. And really try to stick to that and follow through. And if I say we're going to do something, then we do it. Mm-hmm. It's not always easy, because when you're running a business, it's great to want to support causes and organizations.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is you're running a business and bills need to be paid. And,
of course.
and, you know, and that's hard. And,
Oh,
and
dude,
especially
I can
right
imagine,
now.
Yeah.
So I forgot my train of thought. Yeah. So make good beer, do good things. And even not just like giving money to nonprofits, but doing whatever you can do to make the world better, you know?
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Even
like,
for your community and like what you guys like, you know, have done with the SoCal Cerveceros, like even that, I mean, like doing something like that, that's a great freaking thing, man. And like being able to do stuff like that. And there's something for Brenda Villa, like with that whole thing with Brenda Villa, like you're doing it. And because I know sometimes it's hard, like, trying to get through life and, times are tough. Right. But if you can, sometimes it's, it's like putting your money where your mouth is and stuff like that. But you're willing to follow through and do all these sort of things. So man, like I commend you for doing that because not a lot of people can.
Well, thank you. We try and, Norwalk Brewhouse, the brand is still very young. We launched January 2022. So in my eyes, we're still at the very beginning of whatever this is going to become. So we have a long way to go,
Yeah.
And so I look forward to helping the Brenda Villa Foundation long term. Brenda, the person, she's a mother, she's a wife, she's a coach. She's awesome. Her whole family, like her brothers are coaches as well. Like they're so like cool. A whole family of water polo athletes.
Yeah.
And when I didn't know about her. Prior to us doing the collaboration, I didn't really know about her. And it was 2021, March 2021, and I was doing some posts to celebrate Women's Month.
Okay.
Women's Month?
Yeah. International Women's Women's Day, International Women's Month, yeah.
And so I was finding specifically Latinas to highlight in these posts. And I came across Brenda and I was like, wait, Brenda Villa, who is this? And then, I'm like reading some articles and stuff like, she's from Commerce. Like I grew up in East LA. I don't know who this is. And we're like the same age, Brenda and I.
Oh, wow.
And then I keep reading and like, she has a gold medal, silver, bronze. She's like, she went to Stanford, like she has a degree. She has championships at the college level, international gold medals, and like on and on and on. She's in the Hall of Fame, or the Water Polo Hall of Fame. And
how cool is
I'm
that?
like, how do I not know who this person is? Like you tell somebody Michael Phelps, everybody knows who that is, right?
Yeah.
And it just got the wheels turning. And I was just like, why is that? Why literally the most decorated woman for water polo in the world, literally, and we don't know who she is in East LA? Like, why? And so that really bugged me,
Yeah.
And I think, that a lot of that has to do with she's a woman and we don't celebrate women like we do men.
When it comes to sports or
like a Michael
like
Phelps, right? Yeah. The other part is probably because she is a Latina. She is Mexican American, and Mexican Americans they don't get highlighted in that way, or at that level. Like, and this is somebody who has performed at the highest level in that sport on the world stage. Like it boggles my mind. Like
it's crazy
because even we did the collab, we did some press around it. My friends and people that are close to me were also learning about Brenda Villa for the first time, and it's just shocking to me.
That's crazy.
So telling her story or helping to highlight her story is also in line with make good beer, do good things.
Exactly.
Let's celebrate women like Brenda Villa and all the other Brenda Villas
out there.
that nobody knows about, who are hardworking, who are excelling in their field, who are champions, who are coaches and teachers and mothers and et cetera, and on and on. So that I forgot why I went on this tangent.
Oh, it's okay. You're good, man.
That ties back into make good beer, do good things. And that's what this brand is about.
Yeah.
This brand is about expressing who we are in these can designs, letting people know that we are Latino, we are Mexican American, we can make good beer, we like good beer.
Yeah.
And, just trying to portray culture in a positive, honest way.
That's awesome, man. And especially like, I mean, and to go up to talk about the La Mano a little bit, like obviously I love that can. The first time I saw it was at,
Yeah.
was at Louis Liquor
Yeah.
over in Azusa. So shout out to Lucy. But I saw it there and I was like, man, like what, like that one, because can artwork is obviously super important
Sure.
because you need to, there's only so much shelf space. And but like when you have something like with these two, like in La Mano, like that just pops. And I thought forever, and I was like, the thing, like, because I have like part Hispanic, but I have like grew up playing loteria.
Yeah, yeah.
And and like I never thought I'd ever see that on a can.
Right.
And when I saw it, I was like, oh man, that's why. Because I want to say I saw it. It was sometime last year, and I think I posted a picture. But then you and I talked in September. But then I really thought, I was like, dude, I think I have some loteria cards. So I thought I did, but I didn't. So I borrowed some from my buddy, and I was able to get that picture. But man, it's such cool can artwork. Could you tell, like, would you describe it to the listeners, even though they probably seen it on my Instagram too, though? But
yeah, so if you play loteria, this is La Mano, which it's the hand showing the palm of the hand.
mm-hmm.
It's at the card in the original game. It's actually called the Hand of the Criminal.
Oh,
and so you see the sleeve there. I guess this particular criminal was wearing a suit.
Yeah.
So it's La Mano in the card. The background is like a light blue,
mm-hmm.
but our can is like a bright yellow, and you've got the Loteria logo right on top of the can. And
you get the hops and all around the side and everything.
Yeah, that's all Blanca Molina.
Mm-hmm.
She did a great job. Yeah, like you said, labels super important.
Mm-hmm.
And when we went into this, we were like, okay, so let me back up for a second.
Yeah.
So we got approached by the game company.
Oh, really?
Yeah, by a guy named Ron Ledwin out in Orange County. What's up, Ron? Shout out to Ron. So Ron works with Loteria. He's
nice.
kind of like their brand agent, if you will. So he sent me an email. And to tell you the truth, I thought it was like spam. I was like,
really?
Someone's trying to someone's gonna try and extort money from me or something.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so he reaches out and says, hey, would you be interested in doing some kind of collaboration with us? And I was like, what? No way.
Yeah.
So anyhow, so he calls, we get on the phone, and sure enough, it's legit. It's the actual company. They're headquartered in, the family's from Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
So the family's based in Mexico, but they have headquarters in Texas.
Okay.
And he's kind of like their California guy. He's a guy out here.
Gotcha.
And he just said, look, I've been following the brand. I love what you're about. I love all the collaborations you've been doing. I think it's great. I think we could create something really cool. We've been wanting to get into craft beer. We tried to do some stuff with a couple of local breweries. It just didn't work out.
Yeah.
Would you be interested? And so I was like, heck yeah. Like for me, that's big.
Of course.
I was just, super flattered that Ron even knew about Norwalk Brewhouse and was well aware of the previous collaborations. Like that was super cool. So I was like, okay, Ron's a cool dude because he knows what's up.
Yeah, he knows what's going on. Yeah.
But he also made the point to let us know, like, look, Loteria is a globally recognized brand.
Yeah.
It's over 100 years old. We could go anywhere we want. We could partner with Budweiser. We could partner with Modelo. Like, there are options for this brand because they're so iconic.
Of course.
But they prefer to go with somebody smaller, somebody who's tied in to, I guess, just that somebody that's doing work that's important or that they feel is important. Somebody that has a brand that speaks to the people directly. Yeah. So they were like, we could go with the bigger company, but we don't want fans of Loteria to see this as like we're trying to, do a quick money grab.
Yeah. I get what you mean.
So they wanted to take their time. They wanted to do something very meaningful, I guess. So anyhow, it was the first time doing this. So what we did was what's called a brand license deal. So we have an exclusive brand license with Loteria. So literally, Norwalk Brewhouse is the only beer company in all of the United States with the rights to sell and distribute Loteria branded beer.
Okay.
And it's the first time that they do anything like this. So they tried to work with some other local breweries right before the pandemic. So as they tried to get that off the ground, the pandemic happened, and a lot of businesses took hits and weren't able to operate. So it fell through. It didn't really pan out. So Loteria went back to the drawing board and was trying to figure out who to work with. They landed on us. And so we licensed the artwork or the name, so I have access to every single card in the game.
Awesome.
So step one was to like, okay, well, what do we use?
Mm-hmm.
It was almost like too many options.
There's a shit ton of cards.
There's a shit ton of cards. It was like too much. So I have a small team, right? Blanca's part of that team.
Okay.
My buddy Carlos, aka Big Brown Dad.
Okay.
Check him out on Instagram.
Nice.
He tells jokes.
Oh, I'm down.
No, he's so Carlos is on board. Carlos also has a background in music and film and TV. He's a writer, producer. He has tons of skills.
Oh, wow.
And so he's always been super, super supportive of the brand and what I'm doing. He had his own little coffee label for the last couple years. He recently shut it down. So he's a guy that comes with a lot of skills. He's super creative. And so I brought him on board. I was like, if I'm gonna do this loteria thing, I can't do it on my own. Like, it's big, and I don't want to fumble.
Oh yeah, I get it.
So I brought Carlos on. He was game, and Carlos and I were just brainstorming. Like, okay, look, we have all of these cards. How do we narrow it down? So the first thing we did was like, let's not go with something super obvious. You know, people were like, oh, you got to do the card with the drunk guy on it.
Oh, the borracho, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, that's super obvious.
Yeah.
But more than that is I don't want to put a drunk man on the beer can.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to advocate for that kind of,
yeah,
that kind of vibe. So no, we're never going to do the drunk dude. So we started looking at La Mano, and we started to say, okay, how do we frame this differently, right?
Yeah.
Like looking at it through our lens, what does La Mano, what does it mean for us?
Of course.
And so we started to think like, well, what's the hand doing? The hand is up. Okay. What if the hand is being raised?
Mm-hmm.
And what if it's us raising the hand and we're like, hey, we're next.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty damn cool, man.
We as in Latinos, we as in Mexican Americans, we as in the people that haven't been represented in craft beer this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
We as the consumer that has been overlooked for decades, right? Because nobody has been trying to reach us.
Yeah.
Now they know, right? They, meaning the greater beer industry, now they know that we have mega buying power, and there's like a billion of us out here, right? In LA alone, there's like 5 million of us.
Yeah.
Like 2,000 of them are my cousins, right? And so we're trying to do our part to reframe La Mano, because it's not the hand of the criminal in our eyes, right?
Yeah.
It's raising the hand and saying, we got next.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started to think about it in that terms, through that lens. We're like, yeah, that works for us.
That's pretty awesome.
And just looking at the can, like the hand, it stands out, you know?
Yeah.
You said you saw it in the store, right? Just jumps off the shelf. And that's also really the other part of it is like, what card can we utilize to put on a can that's going to pop off the shelf?
Oh, of course.
And so we landed on La Mano.
Yeah. That's awesome.
If you look at the back of the can.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up too. I love what it says. Like,
so that's all Carlos right there. That's Carlos's.
Okay. Yeah, for everyone listening, it says, and I put it on the Instagram post too, but it's use your hand to do the work that turns the world right side up.
Yep. So the hand, raising the hand, saying we're next, but also we use our hands to put in work, right?
Oh yeah.
And when you think of Latinos, we're hard workers.
Yeah, they'll do anything for work.
That's right. You know, you got street vendors selling flowers, holding up flowers in their hands.
Oranges, all that stuff.
Oranges. So that's the significance for us is our hands. You know, our hands do work. Our hands are doing work. And you too, use your hands to do work, you know, do good work. Whether that's making good beer, doing good things, you know?
Yeah, and lifting your hand up to pick someone up too.
That's right. Yep. That all ties in. So doing this loteria project, it's real easy. We could have just taken the card, slapped it on the label, and put it out as is, you know. But we were sure that we didn't want to do that. We felt like that was lazy. There's a ton of products out there with this artwork on it, right? You can go get a sticker, you can go get a cup, you can get a shirt, a bag,
of course,
and it just has the game card on there as is.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to push the envelope a little bit. And as you look at the can, like you look at it and you can still recognize that it's Loteria.
Oh,
It's
for
not like
sure.
crazy, you know?
Yeah.
But our spin on it is everything you see around the card, the hops and those little red flares or whatever they are.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited about the next one that's coming.
Oh.
And we're going to announce it soon.
Okay.
So everybody listening, you're just going to have to go to our Instagram
Okay.
at Norwalk Brewhouse to see what it is. Again, it's another card that's not, I guess, not one of the most popular.
Okay.
Because there are some that are popular,
Oh, of
right?
course,
That you
yeah.
see everywhere. It's one that's not the most popular, but it holds a lot of significance.
Mm-hmm.
And the way we basically redid the artwork, it's freaking cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you're going to have to go to Instagram. So
Okay.
whenever I don't know when this will be out.
This will be out in 3 weeks.
Okay,
Oh, wait,
yeah.
no, actually, no, 2 weeks from Sunday.
Okay, yeah. So after you hear this, go to Instagram and check out the artwork.
Oh, so it's going to be up by then?
It should be, yes.
Awesome. Okay. One thing I want to tell you too, because obviously hearing your story behind that story, like, behind like, what that hand meant to you. When I took that photo, none of my friends really got it because I, obviously did like an out of focus shot, but just mainly focusing on the can. But there were specific cards that I used when I did it. I put the mono in there because of, the beer, but I also put El Catrin, like the guy that's dressed all fancy. After my dad. Yeah, because my dad woke up every morning, threw on a suit and went to work.
Nice.
And then I used a Native American on there because that's, I'm mostly Native American. So I put that in there. And then I also put there's one more. Oh, the El Borracho, because I just,
El Borracho.
for me, for the show. Yeah. But
That's you. Okay.
Yeah. So I was like, I wanted to do something, but I thought maybe like a couple of my buddies might get it, but nobody did.
Yeah.
But there was just a little story behind that post.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. That's a great photo you took. I got a lot of good, people DMing and like, that's a great picture. Friends of mine who saw, hey, that's cool. I was like, yeah, I didn't take it, but it's a nice shot.
I appreciate it. I mean,
thank you for that.
No, of course, man. I mean, I want to be able to do anything I can to support you guys and to support, small business and, breweries and stuff like that. To me, you guys are the backbone, man. Like, I want to do anything I can to help.
Thank you. Because when you say small business, we are the smallest of the small businesses. Our operation is tiny. We were talking right before you hit record, and I was telling you how like I'm doing this all on my own.
Yeah.
I'm handling the sales, the branding, the social media, the deliveries, all of that on my own. And mainly because I have no other choice, right?
Yeah.
And that's just what you have to do when you have an idea and you have a dream and a goal and you got to start. And so I'm doing it, And so thank you for the support. Everybody out there, like who's been following, liking, resharing, buying the beer, stealing the beer even.
Yeah.
Like, thank you for the support because it means a lot. It's crucial. And we're going to continue to need everybody's support moving forward. So thank you.
Oh, for sure, man. And you're a one man Swiss Army knife with everything that you have to do, man. That's, I mean, I feel like I have a lot to do with this and like, my job, but man, yeah, you have like, that and tenfold.
Well, in terms of the actual labor, right? Like moving kegs and picking up kegs and that's all me.
Yeah.
But
man.
In the bigger picture, like I do have some help, right? Again, Blanca and the other designers that we work with, because I don't do any of the designing of any of the cans, right?
Yeah.
I leave that up to the super talented professionals. I couldn't do that without them. Carlos, who I mentioned earlier, he does a lot of behind the scenes. He'll make phone calls on my behalf and connect me with people and set up meetings with potential collaborators. And so someone like that on my team has been crucial as well, even just to like bounce ideas off of like, and I do that with him all the time. Like, because I really respect his thought process, his ideas, his take on the world rather.
Yeah.
And so I'll be like, hey, what do you think? How does this sound? Or how does this feel? Or how does this look? And he's like, yeah, that's cool. Or no, or he'll be like, how about this?
Yeah.
All that stuff is helpful. And even more than that kind of help, I have my wife at home, my wife and kids. There's no way that I can chase this dream of building this brand without my wife,
Yeah.
Because to be honest, like I'm doing this and, I'm making beer sales, money's coming in, money's going out, but money's not going into my pocket. You know?
Yeah.
And so without my wife holding it down, I wouldn't be able to pursue this venture that is Norwalk Brewhouse. So, so yeah, I'm doing all the heavy lifting on my own, but I have help, and
Of course.
and those people have been very crucial to the process. So big shout out to my wife and to all the other wives and moms out there who make it possible for their significant others to do whatever it is they're trying to do in their lives. Yeah, it's important to have help. It's also important to seek help and to ask for help when you need it. That's why I'm always more than happy to help anybody who's interested in going this route.
Yeah.
Again, earlier I was texting for like 30 minutes answering questions on, how much does a wholesaler license cost, where to lease kegs or where to buy kegs and all of these things. So anybody out there listening, you need some information, you need some help, feel free to DM me, Instagram, Norwalk Brewhouse, go on the website, shoot an email. I'm always happy to help.
That's cool, man. I mean, and like you gotta, and like you were going back to like the support. I mean, like you gotta have a good support system, no matter what. I mean, whether it was at home, but obviously with your wife. So like I said, kudos to your wife for for doing that, and and letting you like chase your dream, right? And then you also had the SoCal Cerveceros, to help you that too. Like, I mean, that's what I love about the craft beer community. And you talked about earlier, the collaboration, and everybody just wants, I mean, obviously there are a few bad apples out there, obviously, but I mean, but everybody wants everyone to succeed, Yeah. Because everyone's that's what I love. I feel like the craft beer community, and people probably hate hearing me say this on the show because I say it all the time.
Sure.
But it really is like, there's no other industry like it. Where like there's like people think, oh, like why don't you like aren't you like competitors and stuff like that? It's like, dude, like that's my buddy.
Look, there is that as well, and I have experience of that also. But really, like that's fueled by people thinking or people's belief that there's not enough for everybody to go around. And so I've had a couple experiences early on where friends of mine who are also who went from homebrew to professional didn't think, they were trying to get off the ground and try to do things, and we were trying to collaborate, and it just didn't work because of that belief, like, oh, you're my competition. When it's like, no, we can help each other and we can go further.
Of course.
Instead of like, I'm trying to just get my own stuff for me and that whole, I guess, approach. Yeah, I've met so many great people in this industry, and for the most part, people are happy to share and happy to, because they also went through the experience. They know how tough it's. Running a business, starting a business is like the hardest thing I've ever had to do.
Yeah.
Well, doing it correctly.
Yeah.
Because I have, I spent like 20 years doing music, and, I had my own little record label. I had my own little management company, but I was never actually doing it correctly. Right. Yeah. I didn't ever have any budgets. I never tried to seek out money from investors. I didn't even know you could do that. I never had a business plan. It was always just doing things I knew how to do in the moment, like, okay, I want to press up a album. Well, how do I get there? I'm going to need to record music. Okay, let's record music. And then figured that out.
Yeah.
And figured out how to press up the record and whatever. But it was never like, now, like, I have to pay taxes. I have to renew permits and licenses. I have a commercial warehouse lease. I have to budget for cans and for beer, and it's a whole different ball game now. And it's hard. It's difficult.
Wow. I mean, I can only imagine how, I mean, that's tough, man. Like but I mean, you're out here grinding and you're doing it. I mean, and you gotta love to see that.
What's great about it is, like, in the beginning, it's scary when you don't have a lot of information. You don't know.
I'm sure it's daunting.
Right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But once you get in it and you're figuring things out and you're getting information and you're solving problems, you get better and it becomes less and less scary. So now where I'm at is, and this is probably the first time I'm going to publicly say this, we are now, me and my wife and my small team, mainly me and my wife,
Yeah.
we are now looking to go from wholesale to a physical location. So
Awesome, man.
I am scouting building locations right now.
Okay.
There's one building where, so I put together a little team. I've got a commercial real estate broker,
Okay.
a lawyer, and a designer to do building plans and things like that, build out plans. So we're negotiating lease terms on a building that I've been eyeballing for a while. So that's been happening for a few months now, and also scouting other potential locations. So moving forward, the plan is this is the last year we'll be in contract brewing.
Okay.
We're going to move over to Nano Brewery Taproom and move some of the production in-house. Well, I'll still continue to contract brew larger volumes of our core beer.
Yeah.
But I say all that to say is we're making the move into a location.
That's awesome, man.
Going through that process, it was, in the beginning, it's scary.
Of course.
Right? Because now you're like, okay, this space that we're in here, and for the listeners listening, we're in our warehouse space here in Santa Fe Springs. It's about 1,000 square foot. Our lease was like 2-year lease, whatever.
Okay.
When you're going to lease a commercial space like a restaurant or a bar, you're looking at a minimum of a 5-year lease to a 10-year lease. That's a longer commitment, you know?
Of course, yeah.
That's higher rent. It's a lot more capital, you know? And so that's scary. But now that I've been in it, at least scouting locations, looking at numbers, trying to figure out what I'm going to do to raise capital. There's people that are interested in investing. I've had a couple conversations. It's not as scary.
Okay.
I still don't have the money I need right now in this moment as we do this podcast.
Yeah.
But I'm working on it and I'm figuring it out. And it's not as scary. So if you're out there listening and you have dreams or interest in starting a small business, whether it's in beer or not, I would say don't wait. Just go.
Yep.
Even if you don't have money, just take the first step, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Searching the name online in Google, seeing if that name is available, creating your Instagram account. Once you take that first step and you say, okay, I'm going to do this, you start to figure it out.
Oh, yeah.
And then, one thing leads to another. Somebody introduces you to somebody else who has the information you need, or, it just starts to work. You start to build momentum and things start to work.
Yeah, man. I mean, and that's like how cool. Like, it's almost like somebody say, like, because my dad would always tell me, like, because I couldn't decide what I wanted to do when I was younger, but he would just like make a checklist, like, check one thing off that list every day. You don't have to check it all off, because if you try to check it all off, you're gonna wear yourself out and you're gonna make yourself crazy.
Yeah.
But if you check off one thing at a time, slowly but surely you'll get there.
That's a great point. Like, before, when I used to sit and think like, I want to open up a brewery.
Yeah.
When you look at the whole thing, like the dream of a brewery, that could be overwhelming, right? Because you're like,
oh, of course.
Oh my God, I'm going to need a minimum of $500,000 to get off the ground. Then I'm going to have to buy equipment. I'm going to have to hire a staff. That's just a lot.
Of course.
But if you have a checklist and you start at what's the smallest step you could take? What's step one? What's that first thing you're going to check off? And it's, let me first find out if the city I want to open up in even allows breweries.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not a big task. That's relatively easy. Yeah. That's not overwhelming. Then once you find that out, then you can move to the next step. And then before you know it, you're off and running,
Oh, yeah. And sorry, I had to burp a little bit. That'll probably get edited out after. Sometimes I leave stuff in because I'm like, I like it to be like raw and unedited.
It's a beer podcast, essentially, right?
Oh, of course. One thing I wanted to, because a couple more questions. I don't want to keep you on that because I know you go. We're
good.
Okay, didn't want to keep you too long. But the one thing I wanted to ask is, like, because we talked a little bit off here that you were in a band.
Yes.
And I know you were telling me how like you were really passionate about music. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, I've been into music since I was a kid. And when I was about 17, some friends of mine who were in the marching band and jazz band in high school, I went to Wilson High School here in Los Angeles, kind of Northeast LA area. Yeah. Not the Wilson in Long Beach. I know a lot of people are familiar with that high school.
Yeah.
No, I went to the Wilson that has all the Latinos, all the Mexican kids.
Oh, there you go.
Anyhow, so I had these group of friends who had a band, and I was 17, and I got invited to a rehearsal, and I went to hang out. And I got invited because I used to be I had this history class, and two friends of mine were into hip hop like I was. And so we would freestyle in class.
Oh, nice.
After school, just kind of messing around. And I have this memory. One day we had a substitute teacher, and the teacher was like, I don't know what you guys are supposed to do. Just hang out. I'm just getting paid to watch you guys.
Yeah.
So me and these two guys put on like a little show. Like we were just freestyling, but we were making fun of each other and everybody else in the class. So it was like, we had like kids laughing and stuff. And we were just like freestyle rapping, you know? Well, one of the guys that was in the band that at that time in the marching band was in that class. So he tells me, hey, I have a band, like me and some of the guys in this school have a band. You should come hang out. Turns out like the bass player in this group, I was already friends with.
Yeah.
And so like, oh, I know these guys. So that I get invited to a rehearsal. I go, and it's the first time I see in front of my face, like a group of musicians playing all in sync together. And they're my age. And I was like, what the heck? Like these guys are awesome.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to do this. And so they invited me back, and I ended up in this band. And the band was called East LA Sabor Factory. East LA Sabor Factory. East LA Flavor Factory.
Nice. That's awesome.
And we were from Wilson High School. One of the members was from Garfield High School, but we were basically from Boyle Heights, East LA, Hillside Village, which is right by Cal State LA.
Okay.
City Terrace. And we were like 10 members in this band.
Yeah.
So from the time, I joined in like 98. We put out a record in like 2000. We went on tour, toured up and down the West Coast.
Wow, that's awesome, man.
Our music is in film and TV, and we did all that stuff. We performed on TV. We had some songs on the radio. We weren't signed to a major label or anything like that. We did it all independently. But I did that for several years, and that was my entire life. And I was like, this is what I'm going to do forever. Like, I'm going to become a big rock star and live in a mansion. And
yeah.
And what's really cool is that after I stopped doing music and I got into beer, I started to see how similar the beer industry is to the music industry. Right?
Okay.
And like the first thing I noticed was like, you have all these big beer companies. And if you remember years ago, these beer companies were going around snatching up smaller breweries.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Smaller craft breweries, because they were like losing a little bit of market share. So they were snatching up these smaller breweries, putting out product to make it look like they were quote unquote independent or craft. Same thing with the record industry. You had these conglomerate labels. Excuse me. I too am burping, and I'm not even drinking beer.
It's all right.
And so you had like these big labels snatching up all these indie labels and putting out product, music bands or what have you to make it seem like they were indie. And I'm like, oh, that's similar. Like that's very closely related. I see that. But even the beer game in terms of like selling product, like what I'm doing now. So when I look at my beer, I'm like, all right, I'm like the band manager. These are like my artists. Bitty Bitty Blan Blan is like a band on my roster. La Mano, same thing. And it's the same game. Like I write up press releases when I'm going to put out a new beer. I send it out and I try to get press. Same thing with an album. You record an album, you're going to release it. You release a single, you release a press release and try to get coverage, try to get reviewed, interviews, and it's the same thing. Yeah. And I'm like, this is the same thing. It's just beer instead of songs, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's been my approach. And that's also why the beer's called Bitty Bitty Blan Blan, you know, because it's a reference to Selena, which is because of my background in music. So at the homebrew level, before all this commercial stuff, a lot of my beers made references to singers. And were named after songs and stuff. So that's definitely in the DNA of the brand. And as I grow and continue deeper in this business, I think the music element will start to show even more. Back in 2021, we did a collaboration with Eagle Rock Brewery called Love Fights Back. Love Fights Back is a song by a rapper named Tumex.
Oh, I don't think I've
Two
heard.
Mix is like a legendary LA rapper,
Oh, wow.
like super underground. He was also in a group called the Visionaries and a couple others as well. But he's been in the rap game since like the 90s. Two Mexican,
Yeah.
Latino. So in 2021, I'm at home. The pandemic is ramping up. We're all sheltering in place.
Yeah.
I'm watching TV and I'm watching all of the civil unrest unfold.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there thinking like, man, this is fucked up.
Yeah.
And at home, in the safety of my home, in the comfort of my home, probably in some chanclas and shorts on my couch,
Yeah.
that thought just started to mess with me. Like, what can I do? Like, I got to do something.
Yeah.
It's like, there's something I can do. And what I settled on was like, how do I leverage my music network and my beer network? And what ended up happening is I reached out to Jeremy at Eagle Rock, who actually, that's where we contract Brew the Blonde.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, hey, this is how I'm feeling. I feel like I should do something, or is there something we can do? Can we collaborate on something? And then Jeremy was like, me and Ting, his wife, we were having the same conversation and we were feeling like there's
That's
something
crazy.
we could do. So we ended up saying, let's collaborate on a beer. And I was like, I know Tumex. He has this song called Love Fights Back. I feel like that's a great theme. Like, we as people, as Americans, as human beings can act from love to counter all the hate that's out there, right?
Yeah.
That's where my head was. In the song, Tumex, Love Fights Back, Tumex says something like, when all else fail, love fights back.
Okay.
And he does a series of lines where he says, love fights back. When it gets rough, love fights back.
Yeah.
When there's hate out there, love fights back, etc. Right? So we did this collaboration. We brought Tumex on board. He gave us permission to use his image and the name of the song. And we added a QR code. And so back in 2011, so in 2007, I was a solo artist. I released a record under my name, Ray Ricky Rivera.
Mm-hmm.
Neighborhood Fame, if anybody cares to go check it out.
Yeah.
It's a hip hop record. I was following that up in 2011. I went into the studio to record my second album. I was going to call it, I coincidentally has love in the title, called Love Is Not a Fight.
Okay.
I never finished the record. I still have like half an album sitting on a computer in a studio in San Gabriel.
Yeah.
But anyhow, there was a song on there that was almost done. It just needed vocals. So we're doing this collaboration with Eagle Rock. I'm like, hey, I have this song. What if I reach out to various musicians, vocalists, and MCs in LA that I've worked with that I know, get them to do vocals on this song. We'll stick the QR code on the can.
Okay.
Release the collab, and as a thank you, people can scan the QR code, check out this song. So that's what we did. So it was awesome for me because it was like we were doing this beer collab. It was actually my first commercial release with Eagle Rock, and I was back I was back producing music.
Yeah.
So I was basically coordinating with 4 vocalists, each in their own house, in their own studio, because we were in lockdown.
Yeah.
Emailing, DMing. I sent them the instrumental. They each sent me their vocals. I sent it to my audio engineer in San Gabriel. He put it in the song, mixed it. We did some editing, got the song done, and we put it out. And that beer is what this brand is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Or what I want it to be. It's like, it's beer and it's music and it's doing it for a good cause.
Yeah.
And so Eagle Rock donated the proceeds of that beer to a nonprofit in Los Angeles that works in Black and brown neighborhoods that helps to, I forgot the name of the actual nonprofit. Basically, they do work in the hood to make sure that the streets are safe. So they work with local police departments, on behalf of the citizens, just to make sure people are on the same page and no one's getting gunned down when they shouldn't be, things like that.
Yeah, of course.
And so, dang, that was a long.
It's it's all good.
But that all ties back to my roots in music,
Yeah,
and to the idea of make good beer, do good things. And
Yeah.
so I haven't really gone back to that where we're actually producing music to tie into a beer release, but I want to get back to that and do that some more because it was really fun.
Yeah. I mean, you get like two of the loves of your life,
Right.
colliding. I mean, I'm sure that was like probably so fulfilling for you.
It was. And I think the best thing about that was I wasn't doing it because like, oh, I'm trying to make money here, or it was really sparked by this idea like, oh, we want to make a contribution to what's going on right now, but how do we do that? Like we're trying to be useful, we're trying to do something positive, trying to be productive.
Yeah.
And that's what it led to. And that release, Love Fights Back with Eagle Rock, which also was a blonde ale. We used mango and guava. It was a really nice beer. But that beer really like put a spark under me, to move forward with this venture and to really try to look at this brand, Norwalk Brewhouse, not just as a beer brand, but to really try to see how I can, make a positive impact. How can I give back, So Love Fights Back by Eagle Rock Brewery. I don't think you could find it anymore, that beer, but maybe it'll come back one day.
Yeah. You never know. That people always love special releases and stuff like that. So you never know.
Shout out to Eagle Rock Brewery, Jeremy, Ting, and everybody over there. If you haven't been to Eagle Rock, definitely check them out.
Okay.
They're one of the OGs in the LA beer scene. I don't know if you're aware of this, but they're like one of the first craft breweries to open in LA City proper.
Oh, wow.
Once they changed the laws. Because, before it was like illegal to open up a brewery.
Yeah.
Post prohibition.
Yeah.
And Eagle Rock was one of the first in LA City to open. I think they opened like 2009. But great brewery, great people, and they're always giving back. They're always working with nonprofits, doing cool stuff like that. So
that's awesome.
And they've been a tremendous help to me in launching. Jeremy, like he put me up on game all the time.
Oh yeah.
It was funny. It's like we did the first batch of beer and he was like, so how are you going to get this beer from our brewery to your warehouse? And I was like, oh, I'm just going to use my car. I'm going to call up a couple homies. We're going to come load up our trunks. And he was like, nah, dude. I was like, why not? Yeah, I'll have like 3 cars. He's like, bro.
Yeah.
This is like thousands of pounds of beer. And I didn't even know, and I was just like, oh shit. Had to get a truck and everything.
Yeah.
And so, so shout out to Jeremy. He's
cool,
been a huge help. He's basically a mentor of mine, whether he knows it or not.
Yeah. Well,
I learned a lot.
Jeremy.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. And like I've never been to Eagle Rock. I've been wanting to go because after I talked to Josh over at Brew Yard, a while back. Shit, I think it's been over a year now since I talked to Josh, but super nice guy. But he would always tell me like that the Eagle Rock guys would come down and hang out and have a beer and stuff like that. And even then, like you can have like brewers come from other breweries to go and people, probably maybe outside of the industry may not get that. But yeah, you have other brewers going to other breweries after work to have a beer, But I mean, like, how cool is that? Because then you guys, you guys can shoot the shit. You guys can kind of like, oh, what do you got going on, or what's coming up, like, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, no, breweries, at least in LA, from my experience, everybody's helping out everybody. Somebody's out of yeast and needs yeast. They'll make a call. Hey, do you have it? We need some yeast. You got yeast? Or hey, I know like Ruben, who you interviewed from Burning Bridge, right? Such a fun episode.
And I think on that episode, he mentions how like they wash their kegs at another brewery, because they're helping them out. And also, I think he also mentioned he bought that brewery from Feathered Serpent, who was also from the SoCal Cerveceros. So there's a lot of that happens, like just helping. Yeah. And I have a ton of help too.
That's awesome, man.
Eagle Rock, Brewery West, and on. Like,
oh yeah,
it's cool.
I wanted to ask because you mentioned it growing up in East LA. I mean, because I grew up in Pico for the most part, but did you ever go to like Allen B's over like in LA?
First Street? Oh yeah.
It was like one of my the best shredded beef burrito. Was like the best shredded beef burrito in the world to me.
Well, I know Allen B's because of their bean and cheese.
Oh yeah, it's a great bean and cheese too.
A lot of people locally hold that bean and cheese in high regard.
Oh yeah. But the bean and cheese for me was always from Mario's, the one in Pico, like right by Brujeria. So I would always go there when I was a kid.
I haven't had that yet.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
One of my favorites when I drive up to my sister's house, because she lives up in like Tulare, like Fresno area.
Okay.
Whenever I go up there, like I always tell, like I'll have to pick up like 10 burritos to take up there. Like usually only about 8 of them make it up, but you know.
The only knock I have on L&B's
Yeah.
is that it's cash only.
Yeah.
So like I do a lot of deliveries in Boyle
Mhm.
Heights. I do a lot of business in Boyle Heights specifically. It's where I was born, I grew up. So when I launched the beer, I just started calling people that I know. 'Cause
Yeah.
all my contacts are in Boyle Heights. So as a result, I spend a lot of time. I was just there 2 days ago making a
Yeah.
delivery. So sometimes I'll like be driving by and like, oh, L&B's.
Yeah.
And I stopped in a couple times and like, I don't have any cash.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah. That's like it's like the blessing and the curse, because you know, if the place is cash only, it's probably freaking really good.
Yeah.
And then I rarely carry cash. The only
Yeah.
time I get cash out is when I have to go pick up those burritos.
Look, if a place is cash only, it means they're not taxing.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah.
Hey, well, good for them. Good
Yeah.
for them. Yeah, that's the spot though. So listeners, if you're ever in Boyle Heights or East LA area,
Yep.
First Street, L&B's, right next to the Hollenbeck Rec Center,
Yeah.
where I think Oscar de la Hoya may have trained there when he was a kid for a little bit.
I heard something about that. I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure like that's like, I remember like hear people telling stories and stuff like
Well,
that.
there's a boxer right now, a women's boxer. Her name is Super Bad.
Oh, really?
She trained there.
Oh, dang.
She holds the record. I'm forgetting her real name. It's like Seniesa or something like that. But her like nickname is Super Bad.
Yeah.
She holds the record for women's boxing for the fastest knockout.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's like 5 seconds or something. But she used to train there as a
Damn,
kid.
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
A lot of history in that area.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, but like the first time I went, I was like, I remember walking up because it was like a bars on the windows. I was like, what's going on? But then I tried the burrito. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like amazing. But yeah, I mean, honestly, this has been super fun. One thing I was up to ask before we finish up an episode is do you have like, because obviously I know you brew like, you obviously the Bitty Bitty Blonde Blonde and the Lamano, the Mexican lager. Did you ever like, even when you were homebrewing, did you have like a favorite style you like to brew and drink as well?
Yeah. My favorite styles to brew were Belgians.
Okay.
And specifically Belgian Saison. And in general, I'm a fan of Belgian beer.
Yeah.
I don't know, something about Belgian yeast. You get all kinds of things happening in with the Belgian yeast.
Yeah.
And as a home brewer, the yeast does all the magic, you know, like you don't have to do much. So I don't know, Belgian beers are just so delicious. And there's Saison, wit beer, Dubel, whatever, Trappist ale. And just the history alone of Belgian beer history. Like, you know, when I learned that like monks were amongst the first to brew beer in Belgium.
Yeah.
It blew my mind.
Yeah.
And like, it's super cool. Like,
oh, it's awesome.
You know, because depending on who you talk to, some people believe like, oh, beer, that's the devil. Or, you know, it has like this bad connotation to it. But like, whoa. Like, monastery monks brewed beer. Like, not only for themselves, but to keep their monastery running.
Oh, yeah.
And so that history is so super cool to me. So I had a lot of fun with Belgians. And I think the fun part for me was specifically brewing a Saison. So like, you know, when you brew a beer and you ferment it, if you want to dial in your fermentation, you're going to control the temperature, right? So you might build out a temperature control chamber or fermentation chamber, what have you. Or not, you could just let it sit out and let the natural temperature of whatever room do its thing. Yeah. But with the yeast and with other various Belgian yeast strains, you can like have a really low temperature, mid, or run it really hot, high. Yeah. And at each level of temp, the yeast does something different. Yeah. And you know, so if you're like fermenting at like, I don't know, 62 or whatever, and you let it go up to like 75, I've gone as high as like 89, 90, which is pretty warm. Yeah. But certain yeast strains, they they can hack it, specifically Saison yeast strains, in my experience as a home brewer.
Yeah.
So I always thought that was super cool. Like,
oh, of course. Yeah.
you know, because yeast is it's alive. It's living, breathing, creating alcohol.
Yeah.
You know, doing all the real work. Let's be honest. But just to like see how the yeast acts differently at different temperatures, that's just so cool to me.
Oh yeah.
So that was always fun. Brewing Belgian styles. That's fun. I haven't brewed it in a long time. Now that I'm actively selling and distributing beer, I'm also a father. Got a what feels like 10 kids. Now we have 2 kids that are still in, you know, 4th and 7th grade.
Okay.
And so between family life and trying to build this business, I don't really have time to homebrew. So it's been a minute. So I kind of miss it a little bit.
Yeah.
And as a contract brewer, which I think a lot of people don't know this, and some home brewers who want to get into contract brewing, they don't realize that you're not actually brewing. Like, I'm not physically brewing the beer. And mostly because when you're contracting, you're paying the brewery who you're contracting with to use their labor and their staff to brew your product.
Yeah.
And a lot of the breweries, they prefer you not brew it because they know their staff and those brewers know the system.
Yeah,
and,
they have it all dialed in.
Right. But there are some cases where, like, if you're going to brew at a homie's brewery and you go hang out on brew day, you help mash in or whatever.
Yeah.
Me, I prefer to, like, hey, handle this, make this beer for me. I'll come pick it up and then I'll start distributing it. So I don't actually haven't been brewing. So yeah, if you're looking to get into contract brewing and you're a home brewer, you're going to do no brewing.
Yeah.
So think about that. But favorite beer to drink as a home brewer, again, brewing Belgian style beers was fun. For a long time, I was into pale ale.
Okay.
Never really been a big India pale ale drinker, although I definitely respect the style. I'll drink it from time to time. But preference wise, something a little on the lighter side. Now, I love light beers.
Yeah.
You know,
Pilsners, lagers.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. I think.
Oh, same.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. It's like that and the West Coast. And like, well, those are always the first things I'll order when I go to a place. Cause I know if those are good, everything else is probably pretty damn good.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like with a lager, and I've heard you mention this on your show before, like with a good lager, you know that brewery's producing great product because you can't hide behind a lager.
Yeah,
right? Like
for sure.
It's like if you're naked. Like,
yeah, you can't just throw fruit in it to make it, this or that.
That's right. But a well-produced lager is just a nice way to drink beer. It's just enjoyable, and you can knock back a few and be okay.
Yeah, and the art behind that, because you can't hide behind it. That's why I love it so much, because there's so you can't you can fuck it up real quick. But if you have like a sour or something like that, you can kind of, change something up or throw some fruit in or something like that. Make it like, oh, it's okay now, or it tastes better now.
The other style that's really fun to brew is stouts.
Oh yeah.
Cause I love coffee. As you can see, I'm drinking coffee now.
Yeah.
So coffee and beer, like that combination is so delicious.
Oh,
and, notes of chocolate, coffee, and, that's a stout, right? You get all those characteristics in a stout. And so it's fun. I had a lot of fun brewing stouts and trying different things, mint chocolate, strawberry, vanilla, all of those things. Like that's a lot of fun.
Oh, for sure, man. And I just wanted to say, I'm really excited that you got to hear on the show that you're going to go to a brick and mortar and stuff like that and opening up a shop for you. So whenever you do guys get closer to open, I know it's ways down the road, but when that day comes, let me know and I'll be there first day, brother, to support.
Absolutely. Again, thank you so much for your support. Yeah. So making that jump. Also, so we're going to be doing some crowdfunding.
Okay.
As a result of making this move. So the crowdfund might be happening when this episode airs, or we might be getting ready to launch. So the timing's pretty close. So
yeah. And if that's the case, just, shoot me a text. I'll text you and shoot me a text and let me know what the thing is. I can promote it on the intro for when the episode comes out.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
If we're ready, I will let you know.
Sounds good. All right, man. Well, like I said, I really appreciate you doing this. This has been a blast for me, and I got to have a couple of your beers, and they're both delicious, and I love the hard work and all the effort that, you know, whether it's from your family or like anybody else so that's a part of it, like Blanca or at little Andrea
Little Drea,
on
Andrea.
Instagram. Yeah. That's awesome, man. So I appreciate you and I commend you for all that you're doing, man.
Thank you. Hey, props to you for doing this, for creating a platform for people like me and others in the industry. I listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
You have some really cool guests.
Thank you, man.
I listened to the one, was it John?
Oh, John Sanchez?
Native Son.
Yeah,
learned a few
one.
things. That dude seems like he's super smart.
Oh, he is.
Seems like somebody that I should be friends with.
Yeah, a really nice guy. Shout out to my buddy Art at LA Brew Life. He set it all up for me. So I was like, man, you tell me where to go and I'll be there, man. Nice. So it was really cool.
Well, hey, keep it up, doing some great work.
Thanks, man.
So cheers to you.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. And I'll take a little swig to that and we'll
finish. There you go. Cheers.
Cheers, brother.
I'm all out.
Oh, good. All right, guys. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the interview with Ray Ricky Rivera. Obviously, I butchered his name in the beginning. I said Ricky Ray Rivera. That was my bad. But you know me, I don't edit a ton, so I left that in. But yeah, obviously a really good dude. Norwalk Brewhouse, such an amazing person. All right. Well, this next part of the episode will be the goodbyes to Nadav.
Nadav, we love you. We'll miss you. We can't wait to see you come back, but also visit you in Israel. Thank you for everything you've done. We love you.
Nadavatron, I love you. I love you so much. You've been such a helpful person to us from getting our tanks put in. I'm sure Garrett maybe said some of the same things, but you're the rock. You're the rock of my world. And I love you. Bye.
Sir Nadav, we love you. We appreciate you. We're so glad. And I'm so glad. This is Kurt, by the way, that I got to know you and got to work along, with you and partner with you at Beer Lab. It's been so fun playing disc golf with you and hanging out with you and just getting to know you and your family. What a positive influence on this community you've been. So we're going to miss you. We can't wait to see you when you visit. We hope to be able to come visit you out there at some point. But either way, man, best of luck. We wish you well. We love you and can't wait to see you make their beer better.
Hey, Nadav, this is Russ. Good luck on your new journey. I wish you all the best. I'll come over and play a Frisbee golf course once you get one set up.
Hey, brother, it's Jason. Love you, but yet still hate you. Fuck off. We'll talk soon.
Nadav, we'll miss you big time. Love you. You've been great, and I enjoyed our interaction yesterday, 3 hours at Turner's. But I will always love you, the fact that you knew so much about fixing things that other people don't know, and your craft taste is always great, and drinking with you was always a treat. All the best to you and Chelsea.
Yo, Nadav, Bags, thank you for being a good friend. I hope you all the best out in Israel. Can't wait for you to come back and visit. I want to hear all about it. Please clean those people up from using bottles, cans only. Have a good time, man. Be safe.
All right. Well, Nadav, it's my turn to say bye, brother. I just want to say, man, I'm really happy for you. I'm really proud of you for, wanting to, to go back to your home, because I know you and Chelsea felt, like you were being called back. So, man, nothing but the best. And I can't wait to talk to you when you get all settled in over there at Beer Bazaar. So we'll go ahead and we'll talk. But yeah, man, thank you for, giving me a shot and being on the show on episode 4, like so early on. And then also again, being on, and talking video games with me and Star Wars and all that, really good stuff on episode 41. And, just being a good friend, man. We get people ask me a lot about, what it's like, what this industry is like. And it's great because of people like you. So, Godspeed, man. You guys, may the force be with you. All right. Well, I'm going to end the episode now. So I hope everybody has a great week, and, take care, everybody. Hope, and if anybody that celebrates Easter out there, hope you have a great Easter. All right. Take care, Tap Fam. Cheers.